All right, and welcome back to Moon's Remorse. We were on hiatus last week. A couple of our fellows here got pretty sick, but they're a lot better now. And we'll discuss real quick what happened last session. The group returned back to the town of Squallow after dealing with some problems out afield near the Corrego Forest. I know I pronounced that wrong, but or the swamp basically, and they are now in the tavern, kind of just mingling with people. And in walked the wizard from the bent tower of the town, Orvelis Glenodal, and he said that he was meeting with somebody here. There was also the card reader, the tarot reader that they met on the road, and Ithel had a short exchange with the tarot reader. And Jun used a bit of his Mardigan connections to send a couple of ne'er-do-wells out on a mission for his own purposes, quietly and out of the eyes and ears, outside of the eye shot and earshot of the group. And then, to everyone's surprise, a large explosion of light and sound came from outside, and the silhouette of a wizard appeared in the doorframe. Kevin is our newest member of the group. Please describe what your character looks like as he strides confidently into the tavern.
It's a half elf. See his pointed ears. He's got a magnificent flowing robe, and kind of tucked behind said robe, you can see a masked little face of an animal, furry animal. He's kind of like hiding under his robes as he walks in, strutting. As he enters the bar, the tavern, more explosions and fireworks surround him. And the floor kind of like skitters with little flames and traces of sparks. He's got long-ish blonde hair and striking silver eyes.
The townsfolk are absolutely alarmed, and some of them who recall the presence of this person entering in seem a little less like scared, but there are some who definitely look like they're kind of ducking behind tables, where other ones are kind of just staring in wonderment. The bartender doesn't seem to care and goes about the business. Orvelis kind of looks over to this person kind of knowingly, and it looks like Ithel, make a wisdom perception check.
Sure.
So let me know what you got.
Yep, 17.
All right. You actually notice that the card reader, sitting in her chair, as the explosions start to go off, she very calmly and casually collects all of her cards, gives a very quick bridge shuffle, and then gets up from the table and starts moving towards a back exit.
What kind of look is on her face?
Make an insight check if you'd like.
Is it like a smirk?
Don't know. Insight.
A 7. Yikes.
You're not sure.
Critical.
You don't really notice anything. Like she kind of has like a stone kind of face, but she's not really betraying any of her emotions.
So Ithel was just told by this card reader that her fortune might be to be killed by a green dragon, and I needed some help from a young wizard with fanciful persuasion, an entertainer. And in walks this other person that fits that description, so like her mouth is kind of hanging open. She's in shock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it seems strange that, I mean, again, it seems strange that she very quickly, upon his entrance into this place, just kind of got up and left, where everyone else is kind of like, she didn't look scared or anything. And some people in the tavern do, obviously, explosions and what have you, but she just left. She just dipped. Like, it's very strange.
Mm-hmm.
All right. While you kind of decide, I mean, are you going to do anything immediately upon that, or are you just going to mill it over in your brain?
I'm just trying to like sort of figure out what's going on, because
Okay.
it's just that these things are connecting. Yeah, just sort of stand
Thinking
stuck
about
there.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
So while that's happening, Zach, your character is not present, but the guards start to kind of rise up in the guard barracks where you currently are. You had stayed there, planned on kind of sleeping there, not going too far into the town. But they kind of like get confused, and you hear large explosions. And through one of the windows, you can see these bright purples and greens, and just some of them making shapes too. You can see like a bird cascade, like orange, through like a green kind of mist that swells like trees. But it's all just fire and light. Very perturbing, to be sure. Are you going to stay in the guard barracks and continue to try and get your sleep, waking up in the morning to go with the group as planned, or are you going to try and investigate what's going on?
Cypress doesn't really know the city very well. He's going to turn to one of the guards. Is this something
They look like
normal
they're
around here?
They look like they're putting their helmets on, like they were sitting and kind of playing a dice game. But it looks like one of them's putting his helmet on and kind of grabbing his staff and kind of heading in that direction. And you see him kind of mutter, and he says, "Oh, it's probably that Lazarus guy again." Kind of heads towards the door.
I'm gonna grab my spear and follow them.
Okay. Two guards kind of muster up and don't really, give you too much mind as you kind of follow behind them. Okay. Meanwhile, in the tavern, John, you're sitting by yourself at the table that you had by yourself in shadows, kind of keeping to yourself. And Isaac was at the bar where Ithel was sitting before she migrated over to talk to the tarot reader. If I remember correctly, you were speaking to Urbelis, kind of wondering why he was in the tavern at all.
Yeah, I was trying to get him to tell me who he was waiting for, but he was being all hush-hush about it.
Well, just based on the look Urbelis has on his youngish-looking face, as this confident man of elvish blood kind of walks in, very, very easily, put the dots together there.
So, Urbelis, this is the guy?
And you, Kevin, overhear this knight who's sitting with Urbelis kind of say, "So, is this the guy?" Just, as you approach.
You letting me interject? Because I totally would.
Yeah, no, all you, dude.
Oh, I say, "It is I, Lazarus, the Magnificent." And then I fucking do this and more sparks and colors right in front of my face.
Urbelis claps his hands once, and then a couple of more claps afterwards and smiles, and he says, "So I assume the road's been good to you, my friend."
As indeed. And I give him, like, the wizard daps, and we do a crazy handshake, and crazy stuff is happening between our hands while we do it.
Do you have, mage hand?
I do.
Two mage hands appear, like, in front of your hands, hit, and then your hands hit, and then prestidigitation away as you kind of move your fingers.
Glorious.
Seems to be a very strange arcane wizard's handshake. And Urvelis says, "It's good that you're here. I'm glad that you got my missive. I am waiting for one other wizard, a member of the Association of Talna Marie. Perhaps you know him." And you kind of think about it, and you know a lot of wizards that are a part of the Talna Marie. And he kind of waits, for you to kind of name drop anyone. But eventually he says, Dimsbest, the gnome. And you're kind of like, yeah, but you don't really know him very well. You just know him by name, know of his name.
I got you.
His name was Fomsey Dimsbest. He is a archaeologist.
Bonzi?
Fomsey, yep. I typed it out there if you want the spelling. And you overhear Urvelis say that, of course, Isaac.
I wasn't aware Master Dimsbest would be returning to town so soon. He seemed rather keen on getting back to his dig site.
That is true, but I have need of his attendance here. But I don't know if he is going to be present. Unfortunately, I may have to send for him by other means, other than just a sending. He kind of scratches his chin, his pointed chin, and kind of looks to Lazarus and says, "You're a bit of a wanderer, and I'm a bit of a homebody. Do you mind taking the travel to this dig site and finding the gnome?"
Not at all, my good friend.
"Well, I know a group of protectors if you need some allies on the road," he says casually as he looks back at this knight. And Steve, go ahead and describe your character, and I'll go ahead and post a couple of images so you can kind of see who's talking to who.
Yeah, before you stands Sir Isaac, Knight of Atavius, recently taken his oath of the ordeals. He's pretty tall, regal, though he doesn't really smile. Young, but most noticeably, you can kind of notice a very fresh scar on the right side of his face, like a very bad burn. It's pretty fresh, so it might even be still blistering. It's pretty gnarly. But other than that, doesn't see the pain or doesn't really seem to bother him. He's still pretty regal. The most noticeable thing about him, besides his typical Atavian markings on his armor, is he has a very large bound grimoire sorts. It's gilded and chained, a little bit singed. You would assume probably from the same thing that burned him, but it's locked on a chain across his chest.
Yep. And then you guys would know Urvelis, blonde, high elf, very young looking, but just based on the way he has spoke to most of you, a lot older than his look portrays. He has purple eyes and carries quite a bit of weaponry when he leaves the tower. As you've noticed, he has 3 swords on him, 2 short swords, or scimitars, you're not sure, and a long sword on his back. He also has a bow, which appears to fold into its quiver on his back. And yeah, Isaac, you can see that Ithel's probably returning back to the bar after, spending a little bit of time thinking about what's going on. Is that right, Andy?
Yeah, Ithel would definitely go straight to Isaac and want to talk to him about what transpired. And say to Sir Isaac, this is really amazing. The reader, who seems to have left in a hurry, said that we're in danger and that my fate would be perhaps to die from a green dragon, and someone that meets his description, pointing at Kevin character, would be a help. It seems our paths are together.
Kevin, as Ithel approaches you, she's kind of got long red hair, priestly raiments, and it looks like armor underneath. It looks like there's a bit of iconography that's very elvish pantheon, which is known as the fair gods. Do you have religion trained as a skill?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So you're not a very religious person, you'd think. Okay.
Nope.
So you know it's the fair gods because you're a smart guy, but you're not sure particularly what deity or what faith he follows, as if it mattered. Yeah. And then scooting back, John, are you remaining at your quiet seat over in the corner, just taking this all in because you're in a capacity to watch, and because no one's really talking besides these people to hear as well? If you want to stay back.
I will be, but just to clarify, we were retconning how we ended last time. The elf didn't come in until, I'm assuming, the next day, since I'd already sent the guys with the message out.
You sent them like maybe a half an hour before the elf or this wizard came in.
Okay.
So they just left before Explosion City.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just sitting there by myself, observing.
Yeah, business handled, and then shenanigans. Okay, so perfect. And then the guards arrive at the door with a lizard folk in tow. You're free to kind of rejoin your company, Zach, but you would notice, of course, Kevin, very easily noticeable that a lizard folk enters into the tavern. And go ahead and describe your character, Zach.
Cypress is about 6 feet tall. He's a gray-green lizard folk. One of his most striking features would be you'll notice what appears to be roots or tree bark appearing along the surface of his skin, most often along his knuckles and along his forearms and shins. Very plainly clothed, just earth tones, simple robes.
And he carries a staff, right?
Carries a staff, occasionally a spear.
Okay. Or a spear with a staffish kind of look. That's fine.
Sure.
Okay, so you see your company. Most people are now kind of looking at the lizard folk very curiously, as this is the first time you've entered into polite company. So some of the town folk are like, "What the fuck is that?" kind of looks. But yeah, commence.
I heard an explosion. Is everything well? I followed the soldiers here.
The guards, if you turn back and look at them, the guards look straight at Lazarus, shake their head, and just turn and walk back out the tavern.
Cypress would lower his guard at that point if nobody else is interested in fighting.
No, it doesn't look like. Yeah, they look like they came in with
They're
a look
just disappointed.
Yeah, and then they saw that, they kind of look at this guy who, has been described to you, this elf-blooded man with, blonde hair and silver eyes, and then they just kind of knowingly and shake their heads and leave.
Can anyone tell me what happened?
The theatrics were performed by this conjurer here, and according to Lady Ithel, it seems that we were destined to come across him, though I'm not quite sure the purpose. Yet, perhaps he is to help us with our venture into the swamp.
Urvelis looks to Lazarus, kind of just besides these people who are now gathering around the two, and he pulls out a piece of parchment and hands it over to you. A map of the region. It should show exactly where the dig site that Bomsey is located at. If you could go and recover him and bring him back here, you of course know the knock to the tower. And he nods his head like,
Oh, I know.
and
Don't think I forgot.
he smiles, walks outside, just leaves. A lot of the people are kind of like, enamored by the elf, and kind of now looking at Lazarus like in a very similar manner. You can hear whispers of older townsfolk going, "That's Lazarus the Magnificent. He's a friend of the elf." And they're like, "Oh, he must be really powerful. He probably is. Did you see the explosions?" And you can just kind of hear these whispers around you. A person walks over to the bar, but is like keeping his distance and kind of just like, watching with respect, but also kind of like a sense of fear. And he orders a beverage from the barkeep. But Urvelis walks outside. You see him stand in the doorway, and he says, "Until you return." And then he poofs into a silhouette, and then like shudders inwards and vanishes. You recognize the spell, obviously, is Dimension Door, which is poofing across the town.
Classic.
So you are left with these adventuring types.
So I suppose it's me and you then. Off to find good old Fomsey.
We did certainly know Fomsey. We spent some time traveling with him. Yeah, absolutely. We'd like to see him again. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself along the way?
Sounds like a plan.
Oh, hold on. As much as I'd like to see Master Fomsey again, make sure he is well, I believe we have a more pressing matter to attend. Every moment we wait, our assassin gets deeper and deeper into that swamp. And I believe that was our original priority.
Assassin?
Yes, we're tracking a fugitive, a violent murderer who must be brought to justice.
So Ithel would turn to Isaac and sort of say quietly, "Sir Isaac, I thought we made a determination that there are either two paths we can take. We can go into the swamp in our injured state, or we can come back to town hoping that the assassin was here. And in that time, we could take the time to rest and recover. It doesn't seem the assassin is here. Perhaps it's too late for that quest."
Nor have you rested or recovered.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just full of piss and vinegar, alright?
You sure are.
I kind of grumbled to myself, I was thinking, you may be right, and I almost I look over towards the corner where spooky guy is sitting, and kind of thinking to myself, he's probably not going to like giving up the hunt, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
I suggest we take a rest and start off in the morning.
It's probably for the best.
Cypress is gonna walk across the tavern inn or whatever it is, and sit next to June. Is one of the few people he recognizes here. You have a lot of interesting friends.
You don't know my friends.
The ones I've met that are associated with you have been a spectacle.
Oh, those aren't friends.
No, definitely not friends.
As you guys are kind of talking, near you, Lazarus, you see that Clyde, the barkeep, sets a nice goblet of crystal out on the table in front of him, and sets also a bottle kind of covered with a thick layer of dust. But even still, you recognize the bottle shape as an elvish wine. He pulls the cork and pours you a glass, and then sets the stopper and leaves the bottle out on the table. And Clyde kind of gives you a nod, and he says, in Elvish, a gift of Glenottle, which would be the elf that just left.
Awesome. I thank him, bow my head, tip my wizard hat, and take a sip.
He also says, if you plan on staying the night, and for as long as you wish to stay in town, a room has already been procured for you. The suite at the highest point of the house is yours.
Cool. I thank him in Elvish.
He goes back to his duties, cleaning cups and serving drinks.
Can I use prestidigitation to help him do that?
Yeah, if you kind of walk over to him and use your magic to assist him, he very, graciously, like every time you do it, he kind of, no, this is petty work. This is beneath you. And as you do it, he becomes fascinated, and he's like, I of course, I think it's beneath you, and like continues to try to refuse it. Do you still help him out?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because it's nothing to me, dude.
Yeah. After the second time, he very quickly just lets it happen, and you guys watch as Lazarus in one hand has kind of got the cup, in the other hand he's just kind of waving his fingers and just muttering words, and the cups are just kind of flipping and washing themselves, and you can see like the contents that are dirt.
Yeah, we've all seen Fantasia. From the corner.
But yeah, he helps clean the dishes with a magical manner.
I approve. I always like when people of esteem don't think they're above common folk. I'm just like, yeah, seems like a good guy.
Yeah. Also, another thing too you would have noted is the knight that we mentioned. That'd be Steve's character. He does have a very holy kind of look to him. He's got a holy symbol on his chest, holy book over his shoulder, etc. But when he spoke about what he was doing, the other thing you would have noticed is that he's not just a knight. He seems to be some sort of like holy order swordsman or paladin, someone with a bit of station to them.
Yeah, I'm assuming I'm smart enough to know like Lizard Man's a druid, Steve's guy's a paladin.
That guy over the corner is a rogue.
Yeah.
Because they're always in the dark corners, aren't they? Freaking edgy teenagers.
I'm going to give a nod to Lady Ethel, say I'm going to retire, and then just kind of look over in the corner and give a nod to the other two, and then just go up and retire, because, yeah, we sleepy boys. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ethel has 2 levels of exhaustion, so definitely the same.
Yep, and a full night's rest will get rid of one of those, so... yeah, definitely...
Cypress is going to assume he's not really welcome here given the amount of stairs from the general population around the room.
Okay.
I'm going to make my way back towards the guardhouse.
I think there's just one flight of stairs.
Yeah, there's just the one flight of stairs here. Well, there's actually a 3rd floor, but you didn't see a flight of stairs to it. Lazarus, you've been here before, and you've stayed in the suite on the 3rd floor before. You would know that the only way up into it is by teleportation magic. So, yeah. It's also known as the Blue Room. It has a very small private library, so if you have the sage background, or if you want to study, the only places in town that you can do so are either the churches or the Red Lion, this tavern.
Okay. So, I guess I'm gonna finish my drink and then go to the blue room.
All right. Before you head off, do you want to say anything to this group that's been kind of grandfathered to you by the elf, or?
Just that I'll see them tomorrow. I expect you guys to be ready to go.
I like it. All right. You guys head to bed then? Anybody in contention? So, Zach, you go back to the guard station. Ithel and Isaac and John procured rooms last session. You guys go to bed. You stay in the blue room, study up a bit. You do know from earlier discussions and also a bit about Fomsey is he was very focused in one kind of specific train of study of the Vazriel, which are an older human society that lived before the denizens of the kingdom here present. So you kind of do a little bit of idle study on that probably, but nothing too deep. But you guys head to bed, wake up the next morning. Based on earlier sessions and just based on the entertainer lifestyle, I'll assume you're not first to wake up. I'll assume that it is Isaac, as always, first down in the tavern, or Ithel pretty close at the same time.
I'd probably be up pretty early today too.
Okay. Well, Ithel, yeah, you should be fine too. But you're still, if you had a level of exhaustion, you now do not have a level of exhaustion. If you had 2 levels of exhaustion, you still have 1.
Yeah, you said 2, so that's just disadvantage on ability checks, right?
Correct. Not attack rolls, just ability checks for skills and such. But yeah, you go downstairs a little weary-eyed. Isaac, you're down there as well. Anything you guys want to discuss before the others come down?
Is like the tavern already like good? Like they're ready preparing breakfast and stuff.
Clyde's the only one awake. He's standing at the bar. Looks like he has a cup of some kind of steaming liquid. And as a soldiering type, Isaac, you'd recognize it as coffee. And he looks over at you, kind of gives you like one of those. Says, "Do you want anything for breakfast?"
Yeah, and I'll put up like a 2 sign because you said Ithel's up 2.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll say 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
After about 10 minutes or so, he comes out, a couple of scrambled eggs and like a strip of mutton and 2 cups of coffee, and he leaves kind of a clay pot on the table, which you presume has more of it in there.
So Ithel would say to Isaac, Sir Isaac, I do suggest that we abandon the swamp and the assassin, instead go find Sir Fomsey. That seems like the better thing to do. I also wanted to remind you that that I'm worried about this chaos stone that we saw some time ago. I think that's something that we're going to need to remember to deal with.
Yes, after getting my head straight over a good night's sleep, I believe you're correct. At this rate, I doubt we'll have much luck tracking the assassins, especially through a swamp with a green dragon in it.
With a bit of a swagger to him, John kind of comes in, kind of, making sure like the tavern is as is. But John, you enter in. Anything you want to do in particular before you approach them and sit with them, or?
I go right out the front door.
Okay.
He's a charmer.
Where are you heading to?
First to send a letter to Ian directly, telling him that the shapeshifter is wearing his face and to just watch his back. And then second, I'll be headed to the guard shack to turn over the letters I had the guys write the night before.
Okay. Gotcha. The dead drop for the Mardigans, where you'd place a letter and send it off, it's the only place that a direct letter can be sent per family without going through the normal post. It's close to that drug shop, the guy, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And then you go and you speak to the folks to track them down, and about an hour's worth of work. Really just mostly, probably half an hour, just walking across town is really all it is. We'll
Pick up fruit or something from the market if it's out there.
Okay, there's a small bit of vendoring happening outside of the town, so if you want to pop out, like past the guard shack and on beyond, then that's fine. Okay, and then with a lot more of a bit of a swagger, the wizard comes down into present company. You do smell that there's a bit of mutton being cooked, and there's definitely eggs and coffee, and it looks like the two people that you told to be ready are ready at that table.
That's what I like to see. As I come downstairs, I'm gonna send out my familiar and say, Beauregard, breakfast. You know what to do.
You see...
And off comes...
Go
ahead, John.
No, you go.
Oh, I was gonna say, from below the robes, that mass figure you guys kind of caught a glimpse of before, Raccoon shoots out of my robes and runs off to the kitchen, scurrying.
Clyde gives it no mind, but he kind of, basically has like a rasher of mutton and, eggs pretty much ready, and the raccoon kind of places his hands up, sets it onto his back, and then kind of comes back over, carefully hops up onto the table, and then slides it off of his back, and then waits to be fed.
We share that meal.
That's a good
I
boy.
give him a wink. He's my best friend. We go way back.
That's a good boy. All right, and then last but not least, John, as you're kind of re-entering the town, you see that Zach's character, Cypress, is exiting the town guard and kind of heading in to meet with the rest of the group. And of course, obviously, the druid perceives you because you're making no attempt to hide.
I just walk along behind him.
Okay. You guys don't really talk to each other. Okay. You guys both enter in. You see that the others are currently finishing up their meals. It looks like the wizard's a little behind compared to the other two, but it doesn't look like they're having much conversation. Looks like they're kind of silently to their food, and you join them. Table's yours, whoever wants.
Cypress would pull out some rations of fish meat and eat with the party, not partake of their meal.
Okay. Clyde kind of looks over to you and says, "Hey, do you prefer fish over mutton?"
I'll take what I can get, but
Well, it doesn't look very fresh, is what I'm saying. If you want something fresh, I can get it for you. It just costs you a couple of coin.
I don't keep a lot of money. I'll be well with this.
All right, just offering.
Thank you very much.
Just don't feel
No
unwelcome.
outside food.
Well, he says just don't feel unwelcome or anything. It doesn't sound like he's saying don't eat outside food. It's just saying what you're eating looks like shit. Do you want to eat good food?
Ithel would offer some of her leftover food to Cypress.
Cypress loves scraps. He's gonna
Sure, there's a
devour
bone
that.
in there or something.
Yeah, no, marrow, everything.
Ithel's probably the type that kind of scraped away the fat from the lean meat of the mutton and kind of like didn't eat it.
Right.
She's kind of like probably a pickier eater, and you're just like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
all the
Gotta watch
it's
out for you.
disposal.
Whatever.
It's hard to look at.
If it once lived, I will eat it. All right.
Isaac drops his
I
fork
give
and his
her,
knife on
I
his
give her a
plate.
deep nod of gratitude as I continue eating wordlessly.
Okay.
When I finish, I ate everything because I need those gains.
Yeah.
You don't get 18 strength by leaving leftovers.
Ithel thinks better that food than my arm.
I was gonna say, Cypress. We've been discussing. We have an old acquaintance, Master Fomsy Dimsbest, a wizard, and he is apparently needed. Our paths are gonna cross again, and we'd like to accompany Lazarus here in finding him. Though this would mean abandoning our quest to venture into a dragon-filled swamp. So I'd just like to know what your opinion on this is, if you'd be okay with abandoning that trail, that path.
Would Lazarus be satisfied with the amount of work he did in destroying the poison mushrooms?
As you destroyed every single one that you could find and spent some time searching for them, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I have no ties to this particular area. I'm more than happy to do my work protecting the trees wherever I go. If you'll have me, I'll join you.
Of course, we've only known each other a couple days, but you've proven trustworthy, skilled, and compassionate with your natural magic. The only person we need to speak with now is Jun, though only saw him briefly as he
He's right there.
went out. Oh, he came in with him?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
He's sneaky
So
as
stealthy, I
fuck,
couldn't
right?
see him.
I
He's
just
so
sort of
sneaky.
ducked out of the way
He
there.
kind of stepped up behind.
Shady.
He's behind the lizard folk.
Like a nesting doll.
I'm here.
Oh, sorry, real quick. This would be the first time that Lazarus is actually seeing John and actually noticing that he's a part of the group. But he appears to be a man from the east, from the nation of Seriu. Jeremy, go ahead and just describe your character. I'll go ahead and get the picture up.
I really don't remember, but I think like 5'8", 5'10", something like that. Not
Yeah.
overly tall, dark hair, straight, wearing a red scarf and long robes. Pretty, I mean, not necessarily a serious look on his face, but not exactly jovial. I'm probably standing with like 1 foot up on the chair, just leaning in to the company, waiting to see what you guys are doing.
Jun, you have the biggest stake in our current quest. Would you be willing to abandon it in favor of finding Dim's best?
I don't actually have any stake in this, so whatever's paying, it's fine.
Then it's settled. We did it. Teamwork.
And a quick note too, just a reminder: Fonzie Dimsbest was the keeper of one of the rune stones from the rune blade, and if you recall, the rune stone that he had was called. I'm leaving the table open to you guys to answer. It was
Dragon
I've seen
slaying.
Dragon tourney inside Audi.
basically Dragon Render, and it was really efficient in dealing with Freemos the dragon. It might be beneficial in helping you against Chuck Reskafar the dragon. Just a thought.
We're getting that stone from him.
Anywho, if your intent is to leave out today, I just want to make sure there have been no acquisitions of provisions. So just keep in mind you were out in the field 3 days. A presumption for the wizard is you probably traveled a decent amount of time to get here and are probably just out of rations on your person. So purchasing of provisions might be necessary in town as well. And if there's anything that you want to try and pick up, be it horse, wagon, what have you, this would be a good opportunity to do that as well. Just let me know what you want to do in town, or if you're ready to leave, and I'm going to go from left to right and ask you who's doing what. So Andy, what's the plan of attack?
So Ithel is the healer, and so that's primarily on her mind. She remembers that when they last went out, they had gotten a number of healing potions, right?
Correct. It was you got those at the name
Drug
of
house.
it was the guys right. It's Ardix rather Curios. It's a Curios shop. It's marked number 8 on the map.
I believe we got 5 healing potions last time, and we've gone through all of them.
And it did seem
So-
he had more, but yeah.
We need to. So Ithel suggests we pool our money and purchase some more healing potions.
Okay. And then Steve.
Cypress immediately puts down the 5 gold, all the money he has in the world, in front of it.
What a good guy.
When he does set those out,
As he's picking his teeth with the last shard of mutton bone.
when he does set those 5 coins out, you do recognize that like there's a bit of grit in like the coin facings. It looks like they were kind of wrenched from the dirt in some places. One of them looks like it's been chewed upon. And it's kind of bent a bit. The 5 coins, the 5 gold that he sets out on the table, not only is it the only wealth that he has, but it appears like it was wrenched from like random locations, not exactly acquired as through jobs or what have you.
Ithel opens her purse, her coin purse, and puts 31 gold pieces, all of it on the table to add to the amount. So we're up to 36.
Okay.
How much do you... Are you trying to get as many as you possibly can?
I would say that in addition to rations, this seems like the most important thing to do.
Alright, look, how much money do I Oh no, apparently 0
We
because
didn't
all
get very
dis-
much in these
disappeared.
last bits, right? Unless Jen took it.
No, we threw all the
haven't been
bodies
paid
in the
for
river.
shit.
I don't think we actually have a treasurer, so
Astanos and Cyprus made quick work of the bodies. No one really pulled
That was
anything
not
off of them.
Cypress. That was Boren.
Oh, that's
Threw
right.
the
That's right.
bodies in
That's
the
right.
in the river.
Cypress also threw at least one body in
Yeah.
the river.
That's true.
I
Cyprus
killed a guy in the river. I didn't intentionally put him there.
Yeah, you'll note.
Sorry.
You'll note too that ever since you've entered town, unless it's not important to you, I'm just going to mention it here since he was mentioned. But Boren has basically disappeared the second you guys hit town. You don't know where he's gone to.
Probably for the best.
Took all the monies.
Yeah, before he threw the bodies in.
Well, here's 10 gold, which is that's the gold I started the game with because I don't think I actually collected anymore.
So we're up to 46. Do you remember how much a gold healing potion is? Is it 50 here?
He was selling them for 50. Yep.
Okay. Jean, can you help us out?
I'll run the errand and pay the difference.
You'll run the errand and pay the difference.
I think I have a rapport with him now.
Sure. Good. So that'll get us 1 healing potion. Is that where? I guess that's what we can do.
Oh, Zach dropped.
Where'd he go?
I don't know. Zach, you there?
I don't see him. Then.
His internet dropped out.
Okay.
Master Lazarus, do you have any coin to put towards this effort since we are going to protect you?
At this moment, not quite. Not enough for a healing potion.
Quick note though, is there anything you can think of personally that might be able to get you some coin?
I don't know if we have time for me to put on a show. Maybe I could maybe sell some of my fireworks that I have on my person.
These are good options.
I mean, I'm throwing these out there to the group. I don't think the first one is a viable option since we're trying to get out of here.
Do you just have fireworks on your person? It's not magic?
At all times, my friend. And I give you a wink.
Ugh.
To quickly note too, Urvelis didn't give you a deadline, so there's no rush to go and grab Thomsy and bring him back. Again, it's something he wanted you guys to meet and discuss. There's something he wants to discuss with you too. And you're not sure if he invited any other wizards at all, but apparently you are the first person to arrive that he's, requested to come here. Punctual.
Dance, monkey.
Just let me know what you guys are doing. And
Yeah, like if I'm totally open to taking the time to make some coin. I
Okay.
mean, that's
We'll set this up. We'll head out toward the fountain in the middle of town. Get a little stage area set up. You can put on your show. We'll walk the crowd, put the hats out, collect some coin.
sounds good.
sounds good. Okay, just tell me what you're doing. You said that's what you were planning on doing. Just tell me that you are doing it. What is that what you're doing? You're going right out to the well and placing it out, right? It's not a
Sounds
fountain.
like it. Yep.
Okay.
I think we should probably give it a couple hours. Wait till it's a little busier in the day.
Dude, I'm just gonna kind of try and be like, would fireworks be the best display in the middle of the day? I feel like that's like more of a nighttime entertainment.
Well, surely the wizard's got something to make them brighter. And the sound will still draw in the crowd. He's got to have something for the show.
Yeah. Hearing the paladin's statement, I slide, like literally let slip out of my robe a lyre, like a little harp. Say it's fireworks are merely one of my many talents.
Are you, I know some wizards are able to conjure illusions. Are you good at that? Because I haven't.
I'm already one step ahead of you. As soon as I hear you say illusion, there's a dragon above your head and it disappears, and there's a goblin behind you and that disappears, and then the mage hand comes up and it pokes you. It's all the illusions.
So I have an idea, and I take start taking the seals off my book, and I said, in this book is a copy of the Bynot. In the Bynot, there are some very epic tales of knights And what we could do is we could combine our talents. I could tell these tales, and you could conjure illusions, and we could have a grandiose battle right here in town. And I'm sure that would be very entertaining for these folk.
I'm totally down.
And they would be educated on the
opportunity
glory of
to-
Atavius as well.
New material and new tales and stories is always alluring.
A quick note just to open it up to you, Steve, so we don't get to a point where you're asking me to tell a story. Whatever story you're about to tell is in the book. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I was thinking of that one time when I was traveling, when we were traveling with Robot and like Dimsy's robot, and I was reading the book, and he was like getting all excited seeing what I was reading. So that's probably a good one, whatever that was.
Yeah, just
That sounds so entertaining about a robot excited about books. It's gonna draw crowds in for miles.
a crowd of robots, and then you can just hire them as an army.
That makes so
Ta-da.
much sense.
Let me tell you, it was a story about a group of paladins, and they fought 85 dragons and won.
Save it for the
Let me tell you.
Well, they're planning this, John. Ithel has some equipment that she can sell to raise some money, some leather armor that she's not using, and a short sword that she's not using.
Okay, so you can sell that at one of two locations. You can sell it at the Curios shop, where the potions will be purchased, and you might be able to get some back on store credit in that regard. Or you can go to Gold Bottles Provisions, which is just behind the tavern. It's number 4 on the map, and you could see if you can't deal with Rilka.
Who is Roka?
Nobody's ever really been in the Gold Bottle, if I recall correctly. So you just have heard about the Gold Bottle. I don't think anyone's actually been in there to buy anything yet.
Ithel asks John to go with her to help negotiate at that place, the Gold Bottle.
Oh, sure. I think, yeah, we can do that.
Okay. And then it sounds like Lazarus and Isaac are going to head to the center of town and do what they can to bring in some wealth. That kind of leaves Cypress standing there. What do? And I know your internet's been creeping out on you, but it does
My
sound.
apologies, yeah.
No worries. There's 2 people who are going to buy provisions and sell itemry, and then there are 2 people who are going to go stand in the center of town and make fools of themselves for coins, in the truest of awesome fashion. Which of those 2 groups do you want to accompany, or do you have a path that you want to set off on your own?
Cypress would most likely go to what he knows and attempt to fish for provisions outside this river outside of town. Would that be?
Yeah, that could.
Would that be possible for
I'm
him?
gonna stop him. Cypress, why don't you come with me? Elif, I think you can probably take a walk around the town. I mean, just being an elf, you're gonna draw people in too. Maybe you could lead them back to the show, and I'll take care of all the provision gathering with Cypress here.
That's fine. So she would hand John the leather armor and the short sword.
Okay, you gain a leather armor and a short sword to do with as you will, and then
I hand it to Cypress.
all right, and then Phil,
I'm
Isaac,
helping.
and Lazarus, you guys start heading towards the well. Now, at the beginning of the day, when John and Cypress were walking around, it was actually getting kind of busy in the morning. There's a lot of early morning vendors opening up, a lot of fish being sold, a lot of stuff like that. It's getting to the middle of the morning as it kind of comes to that point. It's still pretty early though, but it looks like a lot more people are kind of getting ready to kind of take their first break of the day. And a lot of people are kind of moving over to places near the bent tower and are sitting about kind of just being casual. Some people are sitting near the fountain. Nobody really close to it though. Not sure why most people avoid it. It does look like it's a pretty good place to sit, but it was the same way when you guys first encountered the well, when you dealt with it when in regards to the knock. So let me know what you're doing.
I'm carrying some equipment.
Oh,
and
not
following
not
Jim
not the boring Wilburs. No. The cool.
Apologies.
The cool kids. What are the cool kids?
The entertainers.
Yep.
So I'm not going to sing anything or tell you what I'm singing because that's not happening. But Ithel will maybe stand sort of where the crowds are starting to gather, and will sing a song of Stasia that she knows, and kind of walk slowly towards the area where she knows that Isaac and Lazarus are gathering.
Okay. Make me a persuasion check. You have advantage.
So does that cancel out the disadvantage? So it's a regular?
Yeah, you would just have advantage. Exhaustion won't affect this.
Killed it.
Yep.
21.
Everyone is literally hanging off of your words, even though most of them can't understand what you're singing because you're doing so in Elvish. So it sounds like a bunch of sweet and just awesome Elvish words. They don't know what you're talking about, but they see as you're kind of, gesturing for
So
them.
basically, Pied Piper, take them to
Yep.
that place. Yeah.
And yeah, you managed to gather up a group of about 70 or 80 people. Pretty much everyone that's close enough to the well to walk to it, and they all start heading over there just as Isaac and Lazarus are kind of getting set up. So before they get there, though, the two of you can have any amount of discussion that you want. Just, if you want to talk amongst yourselves, so there's no, hitch in between. But what is the plan?
I give Lazarus the TLDR of the story I want him to conjure for me. Essentially just a very classic, Knight's Tale about just, setting off and fighting a dragon that captured a princess and, lots of glory and heroism and stuff like that. Just essentially knowing what he's going to have to conjure, just so he's not, caught off guard when I, get to certain parts of the tale.
So very similar in kind to St. George and the Dragon.
Yeah, it's a very classic story, nothing too out there.
Okay. And do you have anything that you can add to that, Lazarus? Again, it sounds like he's wanting you to conjure both, or are you wanting to, as you're telling the story, pose as the St. George figure and fight the illusory dragon?
You could do that, right? I can pose as the figure and create the dragon. illusions?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can kind of hold a couple of different illusions at the same time. Prestidigitation can definitely help with the effects coming from the dragon to make them look more real. So it's breathing actual sparks and fireworks. But yeah, certainly the case. All right, as you kind of start to gather a crowd, what I want from you guys is, Isaac, you can make either a performance or I'd say performance or a history check. If you have either of those trained, add your charisma will be added to it. So it's going to be a charisma check with proficiency if you're trained in either of those two. Does that make sense?
So I'd give history is normally intelligence, but it'd be an additional.
So effectively, just go ahead and, if you don't have performance trained for now, but you do have history trained, go ahead and check mark performance for now. Roll it, and then lose the proficiency. All right. This is a special kind of performance because you're really just kind of telling a story out loud. And then for you, similar, you can either make a performance check or an arcana check, but the arcana check will be with charisma instead of intelligence. Because you're not trying to know about magic, you're trying to show off your magic. So if you're trained in performance, just make a performance check. Figured you would be. All right. So it goes down just as you explained it. You have towards the back, kind of just reading from the book aloud and doing so in a very oratory manner, like he was reading in church. You have Isaac telling the story of a knight. A knight who was a student of Ariomand himself, who traveled in the wildlands and found a town that was besieged by a dragon, and the dragon had lost its fairest maid, who was set to be wed to a prince nearby. And he traveled out into the woods, and he traveled up into the mountains, and all through this kind of storytelling, Lazarus is kind of wearing this kind of just magical armor that he's cast upon himself, this illusory armor, looking as knightly as he can, wandering about and making effects that look like he's in the winds or brushing past trees, and really visualizing the story. And it comes to a point where he creates the dragon, and using his fireworks, he makes the dragon even more intimidating. And these people are just absolutely just starstruck. And in the end, he brings his blade up and bears it into the dragon, and the dragon poofs into smoke. And you tell the story, and just kind of catching on, the story kind of comes to a point where it doesn't go exactly like how it's being displayed. And this is where I have a question for you, Isaac. do you read it as it's written, or do you change the narrative to match what Lazarus has shown?
Oh, whatchamacallit? I have to read it as it is written. I cannot tell a lie. Not if I lying from the by not. Oh, that's a smiting.
A couple of people are kind of like, like, that's weird, and then kind of like look at it like strangely. Lazarus, you notice the discrepancy and the unerring, like, locking to the book, and obviously went with a more theatrical flair where the dragon exploded and was dynamically destroyed instead of the bit about the end where the dragon spoke to the knight. And the end's the end, and people kind of come over and start like gesturing towards give you some sort of recompensance for that. I assume Ithel in this time is kind of like walking around taking up offerings if any are given.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead and you make a persuasion check. One more.
Yep.
Same situation with advantage, no augmentation through exhaustion.
Unfortunately, I got a 2.
Okay, there's kind of like a disconnect between like the people and like how they're supposed to give. Like, so some people just don't. But a lot more people kind of ignore the elf as a connection to this. They think she was just, not really associated with you two. There's definitely a large disconnect in that regard. So some people do give some coins to the mage. Some people do give some coins to the knight. Nobody really gives any coins to the elf. And then they kind of wander off, kind of assuming that she's doesn't need their silly coin. But obviously you guys are putting on a show for it. In the end, Lazarus, about 28 gold pieces and 45 silver pieces are kind of left with you. That's 28 and 45. And then with the knight, they kind of like move over to you and set these next to your feet in stacks. But you are left with 12 gold pieces and 28 silver pieces.
Hey, not bad.
Not bad at all. All right. Meanwhile, Jun and Cypress, you guys enter into Gold Bottles Provisions, or are you going straight for the curio shop?
Curio shop first.
Okay. You enter in. You see the fellow kind of standing behind you. He goes, "Oh, you again?"
Just real quick, the place is empty other than him, right? Because of the show going on.
You see him kind of wiping his lips, and you can tell that there's still blue coloration to them.
As we're walking in to Cyprus, lots of teeth and heavy breathing. And we walk inside and approach the counter.
My posture immediately goes slack, like I'm just feral, staring straight ahead.
And he looks at him too, and he's like, I don't have any more, man. I don't have many more potions. You bought me out of my last stock. I don't have anything. I don't have anything to help you out. What do you want from me? It seems like we need
to chat. This is my new friend. He just came in from out of town.
I drag a wood claw along one of the countertops, just leaving a nice gash.
Also make a nature check for me, please.
Sure. 8.
Yeah. Okay. You don't seem to understand what's going on. Him wiping the lips and kind of like moving something away. But John, you're very familiar, and I just want to make sure you understand, Jeremy. The drug that he's imbibing, you understand what it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell Cypress. I'm going to have him hand me the sword and the armor.
Okay.
And tell him to wait outside so I can talk to my friend and make him a little more comfortable.
Right.
Okay.
I compose myself. I step back out.
All right. You step outside. It's quiet outside. The bell jingles as you exit. John, now quiet. What do you say?
You have no more healing potions in here at all?
I have a couple. Okay, I have a couple. Just in from Jernaris, fresh from.
How
the
many is a
maidens.
couple?
2. A couple. 2.
Listen. Here's the deal. I'm taking those. You're gonna buy this sword and this armor, and then I'm gonna let you in on a little secret.
You're gonna buy them? Wait, I've got to buy them too, or are we trading?
Oh no. You're gonna buy them.
So I'm giving you money and the potion? Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Make a intimidation
So-
check quick.
Hold on, no. Let me finish first.
Okay.
So listen, not far from here, there's a cave. It was recently full of these fellhood thugs. It's been cleared out. But if you go in the back entrance, I tell them exactly where it is, show it to them on a map, whatever I have to do. You're gonna go down that tunnel, around the rocks, across the bridge. As soon as you cross that bridge, you walk in a straight line between two pillars, take a knee and look to your left. You're gonna find exactly what you need.
He looks at you. Okay, make a persuasion check.
5, 17 if it has advantage.
Yeah.
All inspiration
Are you
to
exhausted?
get it. No, mine's gone.
Okay.
I'll spend the inspiration if I.
Okay. Yeah, you'd have to. Okay. Burn your inspiration for it.
Yeah.
And
Done.
he looks at you and he goes, "Wait, what?" Okay.
This time's about to get real dry, and you could start a monopoly.
Are you kidding me? The Fellhoods are out of town?
There's only 1 or 2 left, and they're on the run.
Holy shit, dude. And the Mardigans don't deal with this kind of shit. Alright, is there anything I need to look out for besides that, or anything?
Stay away from the swamp. I mean, there's that dragon there. Everybody knows that.
There's a dragon?
I mean, I tell them, yeah, just stick to the cave. You'll be fine. Just don't go venturing into the woods of the swamp.
And you
I told them
said,
exactly where that bear trap is. Don't take the front door. Don't follow the water. Take the back door, cross the bridge, 2 pillars, take a knee, it's on your left.
he nods his head. He pulls out a piece of paper and charcoal and writes it down, closes his ledger, and sets that down, reaches back under the desk. He's already pulled out the 2 bottles, which are the Janaran bottles. And then he comes back up with 4 more and sets them onto the table. When he sets those out, you see that they're differently marked, but they have a very similar fluid inside. And he says, I also have these, but they're made differently. They'll work, but they might have some side effects. Do you get what I'm saying?
Eh.
They were made by a wizard, an apothecary from the south. Well, not from the south, from the west. His name was Herbifarge, I think. Just these will do you. These will do you good. And he kind of nods his head. And I'm really not interested in buying this shit, and it's not worth much more than scrap. But he kind of pulls out 10 gold coins and sets them on the table. These 6 potions and that should do us even, right?
Sounds good to me.
We're square.
I'll be checking in on you, see how the business is going later.
All right. Meanwhile, outside, at the beginning of the conversation, the door is shut. Cypress, do you want to kind of lean back in and listen to anything, or do you want to kind of do your own thing? Again, don't character cross. Don't, like, metagame, knowing what he just did. Like, don't be a cheater. But what would Cypress do when you're kind of left outside? He's frozen. He's not even moving.
Oh yeah, he's frozen.
That's the weirdest thing ever. It looked like he was just staring off.
It did.
And then I was like, he ain't blinking. All right, so we'll assume that he just stares blankly off at the road. Just like that. That's exactly what he looks like.
I don't think you would have paid attention.
No,
anyway.
I know. I still wanted to give him the opportunity after the fact to see what he would say, but that's fine. He does nothing. You acquire 4 Herbifarge healing potions of healing, same thing, the 2d4 plus 2, and then 2 regular, and then 10 gold pieces. Immediately after you exit out of the shop, you hear the bar drop, and the locks click closed, and you see the curtains get drawn. I don't think he's waiting around to take up your tip.
He gonna get killed.
Cypress, welcome back. After a fashion, Jun comes back out. The second he exits out, the shop sign closes, the bar shuts, and everything closes up. Curtains are drawn. The guy closes up shop, but he comes out with some objects and no leather armor or short sword. Hear me
As I
okay,
step
Zach?
out, I'll pop him on the stomach and say, let's head over to the other shop and see what they got.
Sorry again about that.
It's okay. You're in the middle of nowhere. Your internet's bound to suck.
Do you want to stop over and gather up all the monies?
Well, you are over with them. Are you guys going over to the gold bottle? Is what you're saying?
Yeah,
See what
we'll
they
be
have.
at the gold bottle.
Okay, cool.
If these guys are still in the middle of town, if
Yeah,
the performance, I guess, is in the middle, we'll
Probably-
cross paths. And
time-wise, you're probably passing by them because that was a bit of a long conversation and setup. So you're walking past that area and watching as Lazarus is basically creating the dragon and like getting prepared to fight it.
I'll whisper to Cypress, but so other people amongst the crowd can hear and be like, "Man, can you believe this? These filthy elves, just a bunch of street performers and beggars. You think they'd be better than this?"
Oh, that's so nasty.
And keep circling through the crowd.
Okay. All right, you guys head back to the gold bottle. Perfectly fine. All right. After the completion of the performance.
That's why Ella's performance or her persuasion check was so low.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He ruined it.
Filthy elves and beggars.
He's a cooler.
Well, no, it's because he's not a beggar, or she's not. Ithel's not a beggar. She's not used to it. That's why she wasn't very good at it. But you guys finish up. You guys collect your earnings. What do you three do after that?
Well, we would want to try to find the others so we can pool all the money we've gotten and get the most for our.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since you weren't
What's possible.
very keen at your duties as basically the person hyping it up, go ahead and make a perception check while you're kind of wandering around the groups.
15?
You very clearly see Cypress. He's very hard to miss in a crowd, and it very quickly ties you to Jun. It looks like they are walking out from where the curio shop is onto the main thoroughfare and heading back down towards the tavern. You presume to walk around it to go back to the gold bottle.
So, yeah, then Ithel would motion to the others to follow so that we can
Yep. That was
get all the
during
funding together.
the performance. Then once the performance is over, you guys gather up and kind of move to meet them there. Okay, so Jun and Cypress enter into the gold bottle. You enter in, you see sitting on a stool, a very high stool. Behind a table is a halfling woman. Her hair is pulled back in a very just stressful looking ponytail, and she kind of gives you a look like, what do you need? Where are you traveling?
Place looks a lot more legit than the curio shack, I assume.
Yeah, everything is basically, your presumption is that if anybody's leaving this place, they would stop here first. It's a provision shop.
But it's much better kept. I don't see anything
Oh yeah,
that I want to see.
Nothing is out of order. She appears to be very trying to relate her to like a character you might know, but the only person that pops in my head is Kate. It's Kate.
All right. Greetings. Do you have any healing potions in your shop?
No, we don't keep healing potions here. Just provisions, just gear to get you along.
I see. About how many do you think would a party of 5 people need for, say, a week's travel?
About a ration per day. You said 7?
5 people.
5 people? So 5 times 7. She does quick number in her head. So
Yeah, just give me the cost.
35.
I'm not gonna mess with this one.
Rations 2 silver, 35.
Did she whip out her abacus?
She does actually pull out some sort of counting device, and she says that'll be 7 gold for 35 days worth of rations.
Very well. I take it and we leave.
Okay. You drop the gold onto her counter. She takes a moment to kind of gather. She goes into the back for just a second to gather up the rations. The two of you are kind of sitting there idly waiting. About 10 minutes later, she comes back with a large sack and sets it onto the table. And she says, "It's an extra copper for the sack."
I don't have a copper. I don't carry copper.
She looks at you and she says, "It's an extra copper for the sack."
Then I'll not take the sack. I
She
dump
pour-
her
she-
bag
she-
into my bag.
She pours the rations out, and you very quickly tell that the rations are not going to fit in your backpack.
It's a Cypress to find a bag.
Cypress, there aren't plastic bags and whatnot hanging around, as this is not a safe way. But she holds the sack and she says, "It's a silver now."
I put as many as I can fit into my bag and
So-
pick up the rest.
I'd say about 10.
Yep, we just pick them up. Cypress
How many-
got big arms.
how many was
we
the
carry
total?
the shit out of here.
35, so there's now 20.
35. He's got 10 out of the.
Yeah, there's not.
In a bag. Plus, I can put the rest. Put some in my hands, some in your hands. Stack them up like a kid with.
Yeah,
Toilet
I've got
paper
him.
rolls
I've got
coming out
him
of the
piled
car.
under my chin.
So
I've
they-
got
they
I've
weigh
got a
about-
long snout.
2 pounds apiece, so you have like, you know,
50 pounds worth of
40
food.
pounds. Yeah,
yeah, just kind
it's a
of
bag of salt.
holding it. Is your strength?
He's a giant lizard person. It's
but
fine.
is your strength pretty good or no?
Not the bet. It's 14.
It's not too shabby at all. Okay, so yeah, you awkwardly carry it out, and from the back you can hear kind of just like just annoyed laughter as you exit out of the shop.
I don't carry peasant money.
As you guys are following up on them, Lazarus and Isaac and
I'll say a thank you over my shoulder
Thank-
because I don't recognize.
thank you. Got your snout off to the side against the side
This is
of the
the first time I've bought something.
No, it probably wouldn't entice you. It's just dried meat. It wouldn't smell it. You wouldn't just start biting at the.
No.
Okay. You guys exit out and start heading towards and back and around the tavern. You would see that the other three are basically coming to join you. And
Yeah, I
you
wave them over to help carry the shit.
You see that the lizard folk is definitely carrying. Yeah. It looks like a lot of weight, Lazarus, that the lizard folk's kind of holding on to.
I was gonna
40 or so
say,
pounds.
I pull out my bag of holding and offer to carry all of it. It's no problem.
No way all this is gonna fit in that tiny bag.
Oh, you just watch, my friend.
It's
Do you-
bigger on the inside.
Do you start setting the rations into the bag, Cypress?
One at a time.
As you guys, if you do agree to do that, you do watch as they enter into like the mouth of the bag and just vanish from sight, and you're kind of like, huh. And you keep doing it, and you're just surprised.
Yeah,
The-
Cypress is just excitedly doing it
The
over
bag
and over
doesn't
again.
grow-
Like taking some from June,
the bag
looking
doesn't
for more things to put inside.
seem to grow in size. But no, like when you get to the end point, like, yeah, you just it looks like you've stuffed every single ration that you've had like in there, and it doesn't look like the bag is swollen at all. It looks completely exactly the same as when he opened it up for you to put stuff in.
I throw a
Are you
rock in there.
sure
and see if
these
it does the
guys
same
aren't your
thing.
friends?
Just jam a rock in it.
You put a rock in there.
Yeah, I just want to see if it does the same thing.
Okay, yeah, it does exactly the same thing. It vanishes from sight. But then Lazarus
Huh.
probably annoyedly reaches in, grabs the rock, and discards it. Right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Don't play the character. You let the characters play.
No, I was just saying, like, are you gonna leave that rock in there?
No.
You might need that.
I
later.
understand what he's doing though. Like, they're blown away by this. They've never seen this before. It's crazy.
Magic stuff.
Magic.
Do you want to blow their minds anymore? Like Lazarus, can you think of anything you could pull out of there that would make them confused even harder?
Oh, not right now. They're
I'm
not
gonna-
ready for it.
I'm gonna lower the handle of my spear into the thing to
It
see
starts-
how far I can reach.
It starts to suck
Your
it
arm
through.
is going in there, right?
Do you put it in blade first, or do you put it in?
Handle first. I don't
Okay,
want to
okay,
rip the
okay.
thing.
Yeah, it
It's
looks like it's.
whispers to Cypress, look inside, look inside.
Stick your head in there, dude.
Are they telling him that? Because he'll do it.
Ithil is whispering to Cypress, look inside.
Is that actually
Yeah, I'm
happening?
gonna-
'Cause that could
yeah, I'm
actually
gonna-
happen.
I'm gonna sort of peer into the bag itself.
Yeah, if you put your head into the bag, it's complete like extra dimensional space. You see blackness. It's absolutely nothing. While your face is inside of the bag, do you like think of any of the things that you put in there?
No, I'm just staring in wonder. This is the most
Alright.
incredible thing I've seen.
Okay. Yeah, you pull your head back out, but you very quickly realize that you're not able to breathe in there. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm getting out.
You pull your head out like, all right, and then Did you
June, look in there.
really? Lazarus, he did put his spear in there.
I'm
Do you
good.
pull it out and give it back to him?
Yeah, I raise it back up before I look in.
Oh, well, okay. You didn't put it all the way.
I was just sort of prodding with the
Gotcha,
blunt
gotcha,
into the
gotcha.
spear to try to feel for the bottom.
You didn't drop it in. Got it.
No.
Okay. But yeah, magnificent.
Nice.
What do you guys?
I get out the 6 healing potions and hand them over to Ithel and explain that these 4 are something else. Someone named Herbiforge had made them. He said they'll do the same thing, but maybe there's a side effect. I don't really know what that is. But
Would Ithel, as a healer, know anything about these special kinds of potions?
You can make a Arcana check if you'd like.
3.
No,
I know nothing.
not really.
So Ithel would then turn to Jen and say, "Okay, so thanks for doing all this stuff. How much money did you get from all of your?"
But more
work.
importantly, real quick, Kevin, can you make a history check? So you hear him say the name Herbiforge, and you recall a apothecary and also a master botanist who lived near the town of Hilton, named Adarian Herbiforge, whose potions are imbued with wild magic. The effects that could be present in those potions, from what you understand, grass could grow on your arms as fur. Your body could become like discombobulated in some way. Like you could have like minor effects happen or something even crazier appear just by drinking one of those potions.
Do I know if it's permanent?
You're not sure.
Do you say that to the rest of the group?
Yeah, I tell you guys. Be like, I'd be careful.
Ithel thinks to herself, "Okay, for Cypress."
For Cypress.
I could
Well,
attempt
you
to.
wouldn't mind grass on your skin, right, Cypress?
Sure. Probably not.
I think he's frozen again.
He sure is.
I thought he was looking contemplatively. And
Yeah, I know.
then, he's
Like sometimes,
frozen.
Grass on my skin.
to be completely honest, sometimes he's just static, and then like sometimes it's really just locked.
Okay.
It's pretty lovely.
I could attempt to purify them. I have that spell,
Nice.
You're gonna use the purify.
food and drink.
Okay. Make a religion check.
12.
Good enough. You would know that from what he just described, what Lazarus just described about the potions, it doesn't seem like the person who made the potions made it as an ill effect or a poison or something that's making it impure. It sounds like what those do is kind of the benefit. It's not a bug. It's a boon. It's a part of the potion. So you can't really get rid of it because that's what it was made to do.
Fair enough.
So Ithel would ask June for an accounting of the money so they can finish things up and get on their way.
well, all the money that was given to me has been used to acquire 6 healing potions. I mean, they cost 50 apiece. That's 300, and plus the rations, those were covered too. But like I said, I think I'm developing a rapport with our friend over at the curio shop. The golden place over here, they didn't have any healing potions at all, so I just got the rations there.
So that doesn't take into account the silver and the gold that Lazarus and Isaac made from the show, correct?
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
that never changed hands. You guys have that.
Yeah,
Super.
if you're trusting John with the money, I mean, you can feel free to pass that over to him.
No, that's good.
If you're trusting John with the
hold on to
money,
that.
you've
We'll hold on to
probably
that.
had an aneurysm.
Yeah, this math isn't adding up in my brain power, but
Yeah, he was given
You
a
literally called and I came back with 300 and something worth of product.
he was given a leather and a short
Yeah,
sword.
but, okay, out of character, we know you shook them down for it.
You know nothing.
And
Oh,
four
no,
Just
we
assuming that
definitely
you were
don't give
rich.
him that
That's-
money.
I'm impressed.
Lazarus
I don't math
money.
good, boss. I trust him.
If,
Alright.
if
Rapport.
quite
I
so
pay with
trusting of June.
rapport.
Yeah. So we have basically, we need to keep a treasury. I'll take care of that later.
Okay. Yeah, but again, the two who got their wealth, if you added that to your own sheet, did you guys add the money that you acquired personally to your sheet?
Yeah.
And Kevin as well?
I just kind of have it like floating on a piece of paper. I was gonna say, if I'm getting a healing potion out of this, I pitch in for it.
Okay.
I'm not a freeloader.
So you'd hand that over to Jun?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you want one of the weird ones, or do you want one of the regular ones?
Please, the regular ones.
All right. Just tell Jeremy how much you give him, and
It's 28 gold, 45 silver.
yeah, he passes that over to you and takes one of the. So just so you know what they look like, the weird herbiphage potions look like they're just strange, kind of like raw glass, like vials with weird cork stoppers set atop of them, and it looks like the cork actually has a little bit of like a branch kind of growing out of the top of it with like a small little like tiny leaf growing on the top. The real potions are from Jannaris, perfectly made glass containers with the seal of the Jannaran Church. And if you'd like to make Arcana or Religion check to know a bit more about how those are made, you can. Otherwise, it's just very, very precise and very blessed. With that roll, you would know that there are holy maidens of the church who are very pure and are kept by the church, and kind of their sanctity and their purity is kind of renowned throughout the lands. And certain excretions from them, which are made per month, are used in the distillation of the potions that you currently have on you.
Oh, okay.
Why you always gotta remind us how these potions are made every single time?
Gross.
It's
I
magic.
know I forget. It's like, it's cherry flavored.
It's a
Nah,
circle
it
of
ain't.
life.
It's pennies flavored.
Because magic
Oh,
needs to be weird and
flavored
creepy,
street.
dude. Otherwise, like,
Mission accomplished.
succeed.
So, Ithil is holding on to the other potions, and unless people want to take them, because Jonah.
Give me a weird one. I want some hair on my chest.
All right.
You gather up your gear and get your stuff. If you're all sorted, I'm
You
presuming
probably desire skin on your face a little more than hair on your chest.
True. Heals the burn. That would be pretty sweet.
I'm assuming you guys make way after acquiring this stuff, right?
Yep.
No other stops in town or anything that you want to do. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You guys make way and head south. Lazarus, you kind of have a map of where the dig site is. The rest of you, with the exception of Cyprus, have been kind of told about where it's located, but not exactly. But it appears that, like I was saying, Lazarus, you do have a map that does show pretty clearly. And based on what you know about the area, it looks like it's going to be about 2 days' travel on foot. The river goes down in that direction. If you were to acquire some means of traveling by water, it could be cut down to a day.
So I'm gonna suggest we get a boat. I'm gonna show the map to everyone because I'm not keeping that to myself. I'm not that much of an asshole, and I'll show you guys said body of water and suggest we go get a boat or find a means of crossing it.
Can Cyprus make a boat?
You're muted.
Who's muted? Oh, okay. Ah, shit, he froze again.
Zach, you. Oh.
No,
No,
it's
you're not
okay,
froze. You're not
it's
froze.
fine.
But we can't hear you. This is the worst day for him.
If you can hear us, just put it in chat.
Yeah.
How's that?
He's
Now
back.
you're good. You're good.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to quit and rejoin Discord.
Did you hear what I said?
I don't believe I would know how to make a boat. I have no.
You're
I
a
have-
druid,
I have
right?
Craft.
Druidcraft, yeah.
Well, you guys would know too that boats are made out of dead trees, and you would also know just from traveling with him, he's very keen on trees being alive. In fact, he's willing to purge a bunch of bandits and destroy their mushroom patches to keep the trees alive.
Yeah, but he's not above poisoning the water hole.
When did I do that?
You let the corpses float down the river.
I didn't let them. They
That's-
were thrown there and washed away.
It's not poisoning the
You
water.
could have caught him.
And then somebody got his ass kicked by someone who was let out of a.
Froze.
No!
Look at that
Oh,
face.
wait for that.
Oh, look at that face.
Yeah, that's the best one.
I'm gonna go back to this video. I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna post that on his
Screenshot.
Facebook. What's happening? Anyways, let's not focus on Cyprus. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's not capable of building a boat. It does look like there are fishers who are kind of out on the river, doing their business. This is a fishing village, so it may not be too hard to acquire a boat for coin.
Let's go get a boat. Well, how about just... I guess we have some coin. Could borrow a boat.
If it feels like John.
Is the one that's big enough for all 5 of us?
If a rowboat could carry all 5 of you.
Anyone here proficient at vehicle use or whatever? Water vehicle? We're gonna have to get a ferryman too.
I actually used to work on a boat.
Alright, we don't need the ferryman.
Okay. You guys are going to try and find a person who's willing to sell a boat. All right. Just
A rent a boat.
okay.
We don't need it.
Just
Yeah,
south.
pulling that bit upstream.
Just south of the Standing Stone, you see that there is a group of halflings who are kind of sitting there, smoking these really massive pipes carved out of the horns of some creature, some very gnarled-looking horned creature, and they're just smoking and talking away, blowing smoke rings and kind of looking over as you guys approach them from the Standing Stone. But it looks like they have about 3 ships, 3 boats, 2 longboats and 1 rowing vessel. And they kind of look over at you as you approach. Hail! Yeah. How can we help you?
We'd like to buy a boat.
Oh, we're not selling any boats. Where are you headed?
And I look over to Lazarus.
Can we see the other side of like where we need to go? Like, we just need to cross a
Oh, no,
river
it's
or
not
something?
crossing the river. It's going down the river.
Down it? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Can you give us passage down the river?
Where are you headed to down the river, huh? You going all the way to the city or stop along the way?
Lazarus?
They're not. There's no attempt to make these people sound as Canadian from South Park as possible.
Trying to figure where that accent.
No,
Come on, where are you headed, buddy?
Eh?
Where you headed, friend?
You can't have my boat, guy.
Can't have my vote, guy.
can I? Okay, I'm assuming this map has
Yeah, it shows
like
the region.
Well, I mean, like, it has our final destination indicated, correct? Can I use prestidigitation or minor illusion to alter and like hide where we're actually going, but still have it display like the river and where we need to go, kind of thing? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So I'll do that and show him, be like, this is where we need to go down the river.
okay. Make a deception check for me.
Roulette.
Okay. He kind of looks at you and he says, "Oh, that's really close to where that. Oh yeah, where that gnome's digging with his friends, huh? Are you with them? Are you with the gnome?"
I don't know anything about it, no.
They look at you like, Master Fomsy is a friend of ours. We travel back and forth through there all the time. In fact, last time he came up this way, we were the ones who brought him up the river. Yeah, buddy, we were the ones. And the other guy looks at you and says, "If you're heading to if you're heading to Fomsy's dig site, we can take you along the way. But I just want to let you know, the waters have been picking up a bit, and from what we understand, there's quite a bit of monsters between here and there. It's why we think that they haven't returned any of our missives."
That would be splendid if you could take it to take us that far. What kind of monsters are we talking about? Lazarus kind of raises an eyebrow,
The
concerned.
the halfling kind of and like kind of breathes a smoke ring, and then kind of breathes like another shape, and very just vaguely you kind of get the image of what he's kind of breathing out, and he says, "Wargs," and it's kind of a wolf head he's kind of breathed out. A warg being a nasty feral wolf. They
I know exactly what he's talking about. I've seen these before, I'm assuming.
during
I
the
know about it.
during the summer heats, the animals out in the wilds tend to spend a lot more time around water sources, such as the Squallow River. And the wargs, well, they're in abundance, and you might run afoul of them. And if we're going to be traveling on the river, well, I'm telling you, we're not very interested in going. if there's going to be wargs, are you capable of handling yourself? Kind of points to the knight. He looks like he might be able to. Looks to the lizard folk. Holy shit. Looks back to...
I just grin at the two.
Okay, well, with those two, you should be fine. But, yeah, if you're capable of defending us, we'll take you downriver. But, you gotta help us load a couple of things on the boat, eh?
Shouldn't be a problem. What needs loading?
Okay. In this weird tongue, he kind of starts yelling out over the wall of the farm area behind the boats. And the language he's speaking is really weird. It's like, oh, yeah, oh, no, yeah, there. And you're like, huh? And you recognize the tone as being the halfling language. It just seems like a very vowel-heavy kind of language that he's speaking. A very kind of jovial too. It kind of sounds like he's like telling a joke. And then out from behind the walls come a couple of these other halflings. Some of them kind of chubbier, some of them kind of leaner, coming out with all sorts of gear. And they move towards the two longboats and start just throwing stuff into it. And then you see 3 dwarves come from behind there, pushing these large crates, and they kind of set those onto the rowboat so that the rowboat is completely like you can't get into it. Then they tie the rowboat to one of the longboats, and they look to you and they say, we're gonna need the 2 largest of you to be in one, and the 3 of you to be in the other one. There will be one in the back and one to the front. So you figure out where you want to stay, and they start loading themselves onto the ship, getting ready for travel. So as stated, the 2 largest of you is very obviously the lizard folk and the knight, and then the other 3 need to be on the other ship. So that said, who's in the front, who's in the back?
I guess it means I'm in the back. I'm too heavy with all this armor.
Okay. So Cypress and Isaac will be in the back ship, and the 3 remaining will be in the lead ship. Okay. When you pop on board, the 2 halflings that you initially talked to introduce themselves. It's Devin and Nevin are the 2 halflings. They say that they're of House Riverwild, which you haven't really heard of, but it's a halfling name, so that's cool and all. There's 3 dwarfs and about 6 other halflings who kind of board the ship, and they start to kind of get everything pulled away and start getting the ships set for the river, heading it down the stream there. So Nevin's on the lead ship and Devin's on the back ship, and it seems like a pretty quick, casting of the ships, and they head down the waterway. Any questions of the group or anything you want to do while you're on the boats and as they start to set their way down?
What are they transporting? Is it equipment or is it any like goods?
If you inspect, because you're on the back end, there's 3 crates in the rowboat that's tied to the back of the ship that you're on. It's kind of just being dragged behind, towed, like a trailer, if you will. And it looks like on the boxes there's a marking. It's a triangle that points down with 3 rings inside of it and 3 symbols inside of each of those rings. You actually recognize the symbol slightly on the top left as the same symbol that Fonzie wore on his cloak and on his shirt. It appears to be some sort of Talnamri stamping. The bags and stuff that they threw on board the ship that you're on, that appears to be mostly just grains and food goods. But there do appear to be a couple of bags that are filled with just heads of picks and shovels and spades. Not the handles, just the heads of them. Yeah, and if the same question's asked on the front ship, it's pretty much the same.
Ithel would definitely want to be looking out for these wargs that the halflings had mentioned.
Okay, so you're keeping an eye out and maintaining a watch. Yep. Okay. Perfect. And then Lazarus, is there anything that you want to do on the ship, or anything you want to do to help the passage of the ship?
I was gonna say, how does the ship operate? Like, are they rowing it?
Correct. Yeah, they are rowing the ship.
Can I have my familiar assist them with the help action to row said boat?
To be honest, the halflings are small. I mean, and the raccoon is kind of, a tiny creature. He kind of wanders over and kind of like, bolsters some people's morale just by being
Tries his best.
adorable and like also looking like he's trying to row at like closer point at the thing. And it doesn't really physically help them, but it seems like just the hilarity of it and just the most adorable like raccoon struggling in a Disney-like fashion to help out. It does boost their spirits.
Bless. It's perfect.
And then Cypress, you're on the back ship with Isaac. Isaac does look like he's kind of giving scrutiny to the objects that were placed on the ship, but very quickly kind of realizes that it's on the up and up. Nothing crazy. Is there anything you want to do?
It was shovel heads and tools.
Shovel heads, tools.
Manufactured tools.
3 crates on the back ship that look like they're... You don't know what the contents are, but they're stamped and
Sure.
sealed with a symbol that is not a bad one.
All right. Yeah, if my surrounding party seems perfectly fine with it, I'm going to. What's the size of the ship? Does it occupy
These
a
are
good
long-
amount of the river?
These are long boats, so they're actually being the 6 that got on board. I'm sorry, there was 6 on each ship. I might have said there was 6 total. There's 6 halflings on each ship. There's 3 total dwarves, and then there's 2 lead halflings. There's 3 on each side, and each of them are rowing. And it looks like there's placement for possibly 2 more rowers, one at the front, one at the back, if needed. But basically, long ships. Decently, they're not rowboats. They're a little longer than just
Sure,
rowboats.
sure. So we're up off the surface of the water a fair amount.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Okay.
I'd say it's maybe about 5 to 8 feet high.
I'd say like 8 feet. Yeah. Yeah. I'd walk up along the deck, just having a look at the surface of the water, and if I do see a vacant seat, I would assist
Okay.
in rowing
So the
if
way
they're not upset by it.
the way the ship's built, it's built so that small creatures can kind of row in that center portion. Because you're a medium-sized creature, you can kind of row, but it's kind of a bit awkward for you. And at current, you're not causing any problems. But you sit and you row, and they seem to accept it. In fact, your assistance seems to kind of pull your ship closer up to the lead ship, where it was actually falling behind a bit because of the towing.
Great. I'm content to assist them.
John, are you doing anything on the lead ship as,
Just looking around,
Okay.
watching the coasts.
staying perceptive as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say Ithel and John, since you're watching, either one of you can be helping the other, or the both of you can make a perception check. So you can either give advantage to one, or both of you can roll together with not disadvantage. And also exhaustion will take place in this regard. So
Exhaustion will take place.
Yeah. You don't
And I
have
would
to.
want to help John.
Can I just continuously bonus action give aid?
No, it's more of a combat situation, really, for that. It's because it's master of tactics, not master of I can be annoying all the time. So for this state, again, you can either. It sounds like Ithel's going to help John. Okay. So perception, please. Okay. You're watching the coastlines, and you do see exactly as the halflings kind of described it. All along the riverway, you see packs of deer, kind of moving up to the waterway. As they see your ship kind of approaching down the waterway, they kind of skitter off and rush into the woods. The woods do seem kind of denser. The further south you get away from Squallow, and I'd say about halfway through the day, you do see a patch of the woods where it does appear that carrion birds are circling over the tree line. You do also see quite a distance ahead, but still visible on the southern horizon, a plume of smoke kind of rising up, but it doesn't appear to be like a deep, thick smoke. It appears to be like smoke from a campfire.
I point the campfire out.
Ask
them if it's normal.
Yeah, Nevin looks over at you and says, "That's the marker for us. That's how we get to the dig site. That's where the Bombsy is located." Nods his head. He kind of just casually sits there, for a while, and I'd say about midday, the rowers kind of pull up their oars and kind of set them in place and kind of just take a rest. Then they kind of reach down into their small little satchels, pull out these bags, and start opening up these large leaves that they had in their satchels, and kind of pulling out these dried barley sticks, these jerkies and such, and start kind of munching down. Start talking amongst themselves, the 6 of them on each ship in the halfling tongue. But at this point, all ships are kind of pulled in oar-wise and are kind of just set to coast.
Can I play a soft melody on my lyre while everybody's eating?
Oh yeah, the halflings look over at you and kind of give you like smiling nods as you do so. And then Isaac and Cypress, during the midday portion, again, you had your initial spots where you were dealing with what you were dealing with, but as it kind of gets to the midday portion and they're eating their lunches, do you do likewise, or is there anything that you want to do while they're eating?
I'll join them if they'll have him. If they'll have Cypress.
You pull in your oars, and they look like they're pulling out their foods, and you kind of know that all the rations are kind of over on the other ship with the wizard. So they kind of look at you, and kind of one of them kind of goes, and pulls out his pack and says, I was going to have a second one, but nah, you can have it.
I give him a deep gratitude as I...
It's no problem. It's fine. You see that the 3 dwarfs on the back ship, they're kind of sitting and looking back over their shoulders at the ship behind, because it's obviously kind of now closer now that there's no rowing pulling it along, and they are kind of focused on it. You do notice too that they are armed. The dwarves, they each have it looks like a hand axe, or maybe just between a hand axe and a battle axe, but it does look like they too are here to protect the ships as well. And then Isaac, you see Cypress is kind of fitting in with the rowing crew. What would you like to do?
I'll just take a ration to have a bite of jerky and just walk over to the dwarves and just quiet so far.
You say it in common or dwarvish?
I speak dwarvish?
I don't know, do you?
I say it in, no, I don't speak dwarvish. I say it in common.
They go, and they seem to just be speaking dwarvish at you. One of them kind of looks up at you and says, not long on surface. Nods his head.
Yeah, I get it.
Translate for them if they're close enough.
Oh, you're on the other ship.
He said they both stopped, or they're not stopped next to each other.
No. You're still coasting in the middle. You're trying to stay as close to the middle as possible. Do you want to have the ships be side by side?
I don't know. I'm not in charge yet.
Okay. Doesn't look like Nevin or Devin are keen on that. But it does seem that the ships are kind of drifting, like closer to shore. And with your 14 perception, you would notice that the waterway is a bit lower in its height. It's a bit more shallow at this part of the river. Like you're kind of coming to a point where the water is shallow. You also notice too that there are patches in the water up ahead that appear very dark and kind of just not as clear as the waterway was beforehand. And you also notice too that the forest has actually kind of encroached a bit closer to the river than it was in the past, where there was kind of more of an open clearing near the river, in between the river and the forest. Now it's kind of closer in. And as you're kind of, seeing that, Ithil, up ahead, you see that there are a couple of craggy rocks and a bit of scree where the shoreline would be kind of just sand and a bit of rock. Now it's just like a bunch of stone packed loosely. As your ship's kind of coming close to that large outcropping of rock, you see 3 wargs appear up on the ridgeway, and it looks like they're prepared to jump down onto your ship.
Yeah, so Ithil would shout out and quickly as possible shoot an arrow off if she has time.
Okay. Again, no weapons were stated that they were drawn. Didn't
Sure.
sound like anybody had any weapons out. So what I'll state here is you reach for your bow cinematically and say, Wargs up ahead! And grab for your bow. Looks like everyone's ready for action, and that's where we'll end the session for today. We'll pick up with the fight against the wargs on the river next session. Now, real quick note, the 22nd is... I'm going to go ahead and actually close the stream before we discuss this. Hold on a second.
Yeah, give us XP. Give us inspiration.
Thanks for watching, anybody who was watching, and I'll give all that off stream. Hold on.